with the ITV News.
Tribute to Brigitte Bardot, who has died aged 91.
Here is the drama of the life and loves of a young girl of today.
The actor turned animal rights campaigner passed away at her home in southern France. She was described by France's president as a legend. Also tonight, as Russia continues its bombardment of Ukraine, can a peace deal be reached? President Zelensky touches down in Miami ahead of a meeting with Donald Trump. And in tennis, Serena Zabalenka takes on Nick Kyrgios in a modern take on the battle of the sexes.
This is ITV News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. Brigitte Bardot has been described as a legend of the century by France's president. The former actor and activist has died at the age of 91. The star of the big screen, she walks away from acting, instead using her fame as a platform to promote animal welfare. Although in later years she also became known for her controversial views on immigration. Our arts editor Nina Nanar now on Bardot's extraordinary life.
Here is the drama of the life and loves of a young girl of today.
And so Brigitte Bardot announced her arrival. And God-Created Woman was her breakthrough film, introducing her as a symbol of the sexual revolution of the 50s and 60s.
J'ai jamais autant parlé de moi.
Her image of a free-spirited, so-called sex kitten would make her world famous. The French film, directed by her then-husband Roger Vadim, scandalised some audiences in its depiction of female sexuality. It was a sensation, becoming the then highest-grossing foreign-language movie ever released in the US.
You've been called the world sex symbol. Is this the way you want to be known? Is this what you hope the future will bring to you as an actress, or would you like to do something else?
I want to be myself.
And what is yourself?
Look.
Bardot's sultry image, with her signature heavy black eyeliner and her voluminous tousled hair, helped make her a style icon, her look still copied today. It was all a far cry from her childhood dreams of being a ballet dancer and her strict Catholic upbringing.
Brigitte Bardot, the young French star, is also quite easy on the eye.
Her stardom would bring constant press interest. Married 4 times, she and her second husband, Jacques Chadier, had a son, Nicholas, from whom she became estranged, only returning to good terms later in her life.
It is said that you are not a happy person.
I am not unhappy.
I have heard you quoted as saying,
yes, I am very happy.
You are happy.
Yes.
There were early signs that she was struggling with fame. In 1960, she left hospital after attempting suicide. Her bouts of depression would lead to other attempts to end her life.
You've been gone an hour. Where have you been?
And then, still a screen idol, she gave it all up, aged 39, and after more than 40 films, to spend her life promoting animal welfare. She set up the Brigitte Bardot Foundation, auctioning off personal belongings to fund its work. But her outspokenness and her ties to France's far-right National Front would bring her into conflict with some groups. Her criticism of immigration and Islam's influence on French culture would result in a number of convictions for inciting racial hatred. Hers is a complex legacy, yet there is no denying Brigitte Bardot's cultural impact. Her very name synonymous with a new wave of cinema and women on screen. She has a special place in the history of film.
Brigitte Bardot, who's died aged 91. In the next hour, Volodymyr Zelensky is to meet Donald Trump in Florida for talks he hopes will end his country's war with Russia. But even before the talks began, the missile and drone attacks ordered from the Kremlin on Ukraine continued. Graham Stothard has the latest.
As firefighting foam blended with the season's snow, Ukrainian emergency workers in Sumy faced more devastation caused by Russian attacks. More vital infrastructure destroyed, as were homes in Odessa, by an enemy who'd been accused of trying to weaponize the winter. A world away on the warm tarmac of a Florida airport, President Zelensky arrived for a meeting with his American counterpart, armed with a 20-point peace plan spearheaded by the Ukrainians and Europeans. The Russian president hadn't been consulted, but in the last few minutes Trump announced they'd just had a productive phone call, although Ukrainian officials are still skeptical of progress.
Putin has given his response to any kind of peace proposals or peace plans by bombarding Kyiv for hours. So it's very indicative, it's very telling, and it signifies that Putin has absolutely no willingness, no intention to agree to ceasefire with reliable guarantees for Ukraine.
As Zelensky flew across the world, Trump busied himself with golf, leaving one of his courses in a convoy yesterday afternoon. The pair's meetings this year have been unpredictable, to say the least.
You're gambling with World War III.
Western leaders will be hoping for a more productive session later.
Have you said thank you once?
Among them Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who shared what was said to be an extensive phone call with Zelensky shortly after the president touched down. For those coping with the carnage in Ukraine, any progress could be the difference between life and death. Graham Stothard, ITV News.
Well, next, the government here has condemned historic social media posts from a British Egyptian activist as abhorrent. Alaa Abd El Fattah is a pro-democracy campaigner who was wrongfully imprisoned and detained in Egypt for years. His return home on Boxing Day was welcomed by the Prime Minister and others as a top priority. Jasmine Cameron-Chilashi is at the Foreign Office for us this evening. Jasmine, what have they condemned and why now?
That's right. So as you say, Mr Al-Fattah is a dual British national who had been detained in Egypt. On Friday, the UK government confirmed that he had been pardoned by the Egyptian President Sisi. And in a social media post, Keir Starmer said that he was delighted Mr Al-Fattah had been reunited with his loved ones in the UK, adding the issue had been a top priority. Now, this sentiment has been criticised by the Board of Deputies of British Jews and the Jewish Leadership Council, who say that Mr Al-Fattah made inflammatory and anti-Semitic remarks on his social media account. Now, Number 10 this afternoon say they do not condone and were not previously aware of Mr Al-Fattah's views shared online. Similarly, the Foreign Office have also condemned Mr Al-Fattah's historic tweets. But there's also a growing political fight over all of this. The Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, is now calling for Mr Al-Fattah to be deported and to have his citizenship removed. But Labour sources point to the fact that successive Conservative governments have also been lobbying for this man's release. And so we can expect this row and questions over what the government knew and when to continue.
All right, Jasmine at the Foreign Office, thank you. Voting has closed in Myanmar's general election held under the supervision of its military government. The ruling military authorities are hoping the poll will give them legitimacy almost 5 years after overthrowing the democratically elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi. Finally, in Dubai, a battle of the sexes on the tennis court. The women's world number one, Aryna Sabalenka, is taking on Australian Nick Kyrgios right now. It is a clash that takes tennis fans back over 50 years to the original battle of the sexes, as Chris Scudder reports.
Problems getting their own competition. We haven't even got our own competition.
Back in 1973, it was all about the fight for equality for women's sport. Billie Jean King, still in her prime, taking on and beating Bobby Riggs, outspoken chauvinist who thought he could beat her at the age of 55. The Battle of the Sexes even made a movie decades later.
I love women in the bedroom and in the kitchen, but these days they want to be everywhere.
Billie Jean and her big screen character proved her point. One love to women's equal rights. More than half a century on, cue a modern take on the battle of the genders. But this was more a PR stunt aimed at exposing tennis to a wider, younger audience. Nick Kyrgios, whose controversies off-court often eclipsed his exploits on it, had to play on a specially adapted court to balance up the physical differences between the sexes. Even though he's barely played for the past few years, Kyrgios held the early advantage. But come what may, financially, the women's game has come a long way since Billie Jean first fought its court.
Kyrgios was the first set. Is still with serve on the second. That is it for now. I'll be back with the late news. That's 11:30. Until then, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.